you like to travel? In this documentary, we will compare how travel has changed from the 60s to today. In car travel, one noticeable change has been the efficiency of cars themselves. In the 1960s, cars went on average 15.7 miles per gallon. However, in 2016, cars went on average 23.6 miles per gallon. Another difference in automobiles is the transmission type. The vast majority of cars in the 1960s had a manual transmission, while in modern day, the majority of cars have an automatic transmission. Another final difference is the safety of cars. The seatbelt law, requiring all passengers to wear a seatbelt in the car, was passed in 1984. Therefore, in the 60s, not everyone wore seatbelts, causing a lot more fatalities in car crashes.
What do you think it was like traveling back then compared to now?
There was a lot of freedom. Security obviously is a really big thing right now. Even when I was a kid in the 80s, I mean, I could meet my dad at the gate. You didn't have to wait on the other end of security. You could wait right at the gate for somebody. I mean, that's all the stuff that changed at 9/11. But even back then, there was a sense of occasion to it. I know that the meals were far more opulent. You sat down to some really high-class chow that was made by legit chefs, not cafeteria slop on a tray. The men wore suits and the ladies wore dresses. It was a sense of occasion of travel because it was something special.
Flying in the 60s was a luxury. Passengers were brought freshly cooked meals and cold drinks for no extra cost. Seats were comfortable, and some flights across the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans offered beds. However, this luxury was expensive. A ticket for a relatively short flight, for example, a flight from Phoenix to Chicago, would cost $1,168.
The men came in full suits with hats and ties and everything, and the women wore dresses. And it was beautiful. Couldn't do that now. It's just not fun anymore. Now it's get on the plane, oh wait, get off the plane, oh I'm gonna choke you if you don't get off my plane. Sorry, United. You brought this upon yourselves. But yeah, so it was more special. It was more catered to the passengers, and it meant something, not just get me to my destination. The journey actually meant something back then.
Modern air travel has changed. Most of the luxury and cost of the 60s have been stripped away. Today's air travel is about getting as many people from one place to another as quickly as possible. As the technology in aviation and automobiles advances, the possibilities of travel increase. Because travel is more affordable in modern day than in the 60s, more people can travel to more exotic, historic, or awe-inspiring destinations. Hence, the number of annual travelers has increased. Although the most popular travel destinations, Las Vegas, Hawaii, Miami, Orlando, and California in general, have stayed the same from the 60s to today.
It's awesome. Getting to see the world is always a good thing. Alaska, we went during the time of year when it was light out for 24 hours, which is interesting if you've never seen that or heard about that. You go to sleep and it's still bright out. and it's really hard to actually go to sleep because it's 2 a.m. and it's still like this nice out. Let's see. Australia has a lot of interesting animals you can't see at zoos generally around here, and they let you play with the animals a little bit more. Got to hold a koala.
Okay, so recently I drove to LA, and this is my experience with it driving there. First off, I had to put in the GPS, the address to where I was going in LA. Then I had to, check all my regular stuff like gas and tire pressure and all that. And then about an hour in driving, one of my tires got flat, so we had to stop at a gas station and we had to pump some air in it. And then that took up like another 30 minutes or so. So now we're about 5 hours behind, which is what it would take to get to LA. It take about 6 to 7 hours, I'd say, if you're speeding. And then about like 2 hours in, you get really tired. So I had to pick up some energy drinks, so I can fill up on energy and drive there. And then about another hour in, so now we're like 4 hours in, I had to, the car overheated because we didn't have enough coolant in it. So we had to get out, because I had coolant in the trunk, put some in the engine and then keep on going and let it chill for a bit. And then after that, we just kept going. And now we're like about 5 hours in, and then it's still a little boring, so we bought another energy drink. And now we're like 6 hours in, and we get there about I'd say 9:30, and we arrived. But I feel like that was all in one day, about 6 hours. Maybe back then in the 60s, it would have took about a day plus going through what I just went through in one day in 6 hours. I've recovered from all the mistakes that happened in within 6 hours. But back then in the 60s, if that would have happened, I feel like it set you back a day or two, which would make the experience or the trip so much longer than it actually was.
What is something dangerous that has happened to you while traveling?
So in 2000, I was taking students to Europe from Leland, and we were leaving Milan. It was the end of our trip, and we had a great time. And I was with a group of 3 boys that were, for all intents and purposes, idiots. And we're going through customs, and they asked if we had any firearms or weapons with us. And I said no. The second boy said no. The third boy said yes. And he pulled out a pistol that he had bought at a store. And luckily this is prior to 9/11, but they tackled him in front of me and took him down, and then took him into a room. And as the teacher, I tried to go in with him to make sure that he was safe, and because he was now 18, they wouldn't let me in. So I saw a full takedown in an Italian airport of a guy brandishing a gun that was a toy gun, but that was very scary and very stupid at the same time. So for all people out there, please don't bring guns to airports and pull them out, just as a life tip. But that's the story I've got for you.
In the 1960s, airport security was extremely light. The only real security measure was armed men placed on the plane by request of the airline or FBI. In the airport itself, additional screening was allowed only if a passenger was acting extremely suspicious. Modern-day airport security, on the other hand, is extremely thorough. Passengers are only allowed 3.4-ounce liquids and are subject to random screenings, after having their bags and bodies scanned for potential weapons.